Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. Urekeb isn't just any glyph. He's a haunting fusion of scarecrow and crow. His body is woven from tattered black feathers and brittle straw, giving him a ragged, wind-woven silhouette. Perched atop a crooked frame is a crow head with the jagged straw beak, and from beneath his tangled feather straw mask glow two dark red eyes that cut through you like a knife and make your soul flinch if you stare too long. But despite his fearsome appearance, Urekeb is only a mare, an animal-born glyph created from feathers and straw. His nature is instinctive rather than evil, driven by the haunting magic that gave him his shape. When I finally set out to catch Urekeb, I only meant for me to go, and I didn't mean for anyone to come with me. This was supposed to be my mission, my burden to handle alone. I slipped out in the dead of night, careful not to wake anyone in the sanctuary house. The air was cold enough to sting my lungs, and every creak of the floorboards felt like a scream. Urekeb perched silently on my shoulder, his feathers puffed against the chill, eyes gleaming with excitement or warning. I couldn't really tell which. Once we were outside, I summoned my glider and took off into the night sky. The wind rushed around us, the sanctuary shrinking below until it was only a warm glow in the darkness. I thought I was finally alone, free to face Urekeb without dragging anyone else into danger. But just as the forest clearing came into view, where the scarecrow crow was said to wander, I heard a rustling behind me, going somewhere without us. I nearly fell out of the sky. Zena and Luna sat wedged in the back of my glider car, as if they'd been there the whole time, Luna giving a small wave while Zena's eyes narrowed. With that, you should have known better look, that she always got. My heart pounded. How? How long have you been back there? Long enough to know you were planning something reckless, Zena said, crossing her arms. Luna grinned. And long enough to scare you. Sorry, not sorry. Urekeb let out a disgruntled squawk. Clearly offended that he hadn't noticed them either. So much for going alone, I thought. We were headed for Stone Cavern Peak, a jagged razor-edged mountain that clawed at the night sky. Even from a distance it looked hostile, as if the earth itself had tried to tear free and never settled back into the place. Legends whispered that no one reached the summit without being watched or followed. That peak wasn't just a landmark, it was where the Urekeb built its nest. Not a small nest like a normal bird would make. This was a massive, twisted nest structure of branches, straw, and torn cloth, woven into the skeletal mouth of a cavern. A nest large enough to hold 20 Urekeb at once, 20 straw-feathered, knife-eyed creatures lurking together in the dark. And we were flying straight toward it. The closer we got, the quieter everything became. Even the wind seemed to hush, as if afraid to disturb what lived up there. Urekeb shifted uneasily on my shoulder. Zena tightened her grip on my shoulder as well. Luna swallowed her playful grin, long gone. Stone Cavern Peak loomed ahead, and suddenly going alone didn't seem like such a bad idea after all. By the time we reached the cavern mouth at Stone Cavern Peak, the sky above glowed with its usual eerie light. The 3 moons hung like silver lanterns beside the twin suns, their combined radiance casting strange overlapping shadows across the jagged mountaintop. There was no darkness to hide in, not in a world where the sky never slept. We had to rely on silence instead. We pressed into the cavern, where the rock swallowed most of the celestial glow. Our footsteps softened against the cold stone floor. The air smelled of damp feathers and straw. Ahead, the nest rose from the cavern's center, a twisted, towering structure woven from sticks, fabric scraps, and shed feathers. We crept closer. Inside the nest were dozens of eggs, each one threaded with faint red veins that pulsed faintly. waiting to hatch. It was egg-laying season, which meant the flock would be more territorial than ever. We should have left right then. I started to back away when a sharp skaka rang out through the air. The cry echoed through the cavern, followed by the scraping drag of claws on stone. My chest tightened. We'd been spotted. Instinct took over. I dropped a glyphid pyramid-shaped trapping device, activating it with a tap of my finger. A flash, then a whirl of binding energy, and once Urekeb was yanked inside the capture seal, I snatched the glyphid off the ground, shoved it into my bag, and hissed, "Run!" We sprinted for the hovercraft, moons and suns casting long, warped shadows behind us. The moment the door sealed, I launched us into the sky, hover engines roaring, but the victory lasted only seconds. Behind us came a furious chorus of caws as a swarm of Urekeb burst out of the cavern, wings of straw and feathers beating wildly, red eyes burning like coals. They took to the sky in a cloud of rage and came after us. I pushed the hovercraft as fast as it would go, hoping we could lose the Urekeb in open air, but the moment we soared over the Luan Academy, the flock caught up. Straw wings beat against the windshield, and sharp beaks hammered at the hood. Crack, poke, rip! One particularly vicious Urekeb stabbed its beak straight through the engine casing. The hovercraft sputtered, or a beak squawked. We all screamed, and then we dropped. The hovercraft spiraled downward past the library tower, across the training courtyard, and crash! We tore straight through the side of a classroom. Dust exploded everywhere in a chalk-white cloud. The Urekeb, startled by the impact, scattered and fled into the sky, leaving us sitting in a hovercraft half-wedged into a classroom wall, piece of ceiling drifted down like snow. For a moment, everything was silent. Then came a slow, irritated knock on the hovercraft door. I swallowed hard and slid it open. There stood Orion, arms crossed, jaws clenched, and eyes blazing with a fury that could melt steel. It would have been terrifying if he wasn't absolutely covered head to toe in white wall dust, his hair sticking up like he'd been electrocuted, and a chunk of plaster resting on his shoulder like a fancy accessory. Zena snorted. Luna burst into laughter. I did not. Orion exhaled through his nose, a puff of white dust misting into the air. "Stella Ferris," he said in a dangerously calm voice, "would you like to explain why there's a hovercraft in my classroom?" I opened my mouth, ready to explain the situation, then closed it again, then opened it again. The words had apparently packed their bags and left with my brain. "Well," I began, "that depends on where you'd like me to start. The part where we heroically survived the swarm of Urekeb, or the part where your academy wall sacrificed itself for our safety?" Luna gave me a proud thumbs up. Zena slapped a hand over her face. Orion stared at me, not blinking, not breathing, just staring. The kind of stare that makes you rethink every decision you've ever made since birth. Behind him in the classroom had erupted into pure chaos. Students were whispering, climbing over desks to look at the hovercraft like it was a mythical creature, poking at the feathers stuck in the wall. Someone found half of a Urekeb egg shell and began passing it around like treasure. A second-year student attempted to climb into the pilot's seat until Orion snapped, "Nobody touches the vehicle." They froze mid-step. One student raised a hand. "Professor Orion, does this mean we get extra credit for surviving a real-life case study?" "No, Rin," Orion replied through gritted teeth. "This means you will all do a 3-page report on why you should not be in a room with Stella Ferris during egg season." Half the class groaned. One kid started writing immediately while muttering, "Worth it." Orion turned back to me, his voice low. "Office, now." We climbed out of the hovercraft wreckage. Dust crunched under our boots as we followed him through the destroyed classroom and into the hallway. He flicked his fingers, doors shutting, barriers sealing. privacy spell humming into place like a magical do not disturb sign. In his office, the air felt heavy, like the room itself knew trouble when it saw it. Orion rounded on me. You went to Stone Cavern Peak, the nesting ground, during egg season. He spoke as if outlining a list of war crimes. Yes, I said quietly, with no clearance, no backup, and with 2 students who don't yet know the difference between a containment rune and a summoning rune. I do know the difference, Luna protested. Zena elbowed her. No, you don't. Luna shrugged. Okay, well, one of them involves circles. Orion massaged his temple so hard I thought it might erase his own face. Stella Ferris, he said finally, you could have died, all 3 of you. And for what? To capture a single glyph? The air shifted, my heartbeat slowed, the humor drained out of the room like someone had pulled a plug. It wasn't just any glyph, I said. Orion's eyes sharpened. No, but that still doesn't justify. It wasn't just about the glyph, I snapped louder than intended. Silence wrapped around us, heavy and unblinking. Luna and Zena exchanged a look, sensing the mood change. They stepped back, letting the tension sharpen like a blade. I swallowed, forcing the words out. You knew. Orion didn't respond. You knew about Kazanora, I continued, voice shaking. You knew what catching a mere boar could do. What it could help me understand. And you didn't tell me. Orion's jaw clenched. I took a step forward, anger rising like heat from a flame I'd been trying to smother for a long time. You taught me every spell, every rule, every warning, except the truth. Except the one thing I needed most. Zena gently touched my arm. Stella. I shook her off. I had to find out from a book buried in a restricted archive. Not from you, the person who promised to teach me everything. Orion's voice was quiet when he finally spoke. You were not ready. Not ready, I repeated, incredulous. My sister's soul is trapped, changed, and you think I wasn't ready to know why? To know how it happened? To know what could undo it? Orion didn't look angry anymore, just tired. Like he'd aged 10 years in 3 seconds. I was trying to protect you, he said softly. I stared at him, at the man who saved me, taught me, guided me. Right now I didn't know if he felt like a mentor or a liar. Protect me, I whispered, or control what I knew. No one spoke, not Orion, not Zena, not Luna, not me. For the first time since crashing through his classroom wall, I wished the Urekeb had kept chasing us, because facing Orion's silence hurt far worse. There are things in this world you don't yet understand, Stella Ferris, Orion said, his voice lower now, not sharp, but tired, almost pleading. A bitter laugh escaped me. Like what? Go on, enlighten me. I stepped closer, anger shaking through every word. That the one person I trusted, looked up to, completely broke my heart. The room seemed to contract around us, the air thick with magic and emotion. Orion flinched, not visibly, not dramatically, but enough that I saw the truth hit him. Stella Ferris, he tried again. Hands raised slightly in a calming gesture. Please calm down. We don't want the principal to hear. At the mention of the principal, the all-seeing council elder whose presence could rip through the walls and thoughts alike, Zena and Luna stiffened. Even the warden office felt darker, the shadows heavier, as if the very name summoned attention. But I was too far gone for fear. Let her, I snapped, my voice cracked raw and loud in the magically sealed space. I don't care. Zena stepped forward towards me. Stella, I know. I backed away from all of them. Orion, Zena, Luna, the walls closing in. I am done being kept in the dark by him. By the academy, by the council, by everyone. Orion's voice was quiet but strained. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. Tears burned at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You're all terrified of what I might learn, of what I might become. But you know what scares me more? Orion swallowed. That I'm already too late to save Kazanora. The names slammed into the room like a spell gone wrong. Even the office boards hummed in response. Orion's expression cracked, not in anger but regret, so deep it made something twist inside of me. He took a step closer, voice barely above a whisper. If the principal hears this, hears you, they will not show mercy. You are walking a line you cannot see. I'm done being led blind, I whispered. If I have to walk that line alone, then so be it. Silence settled again, but not the awkward kind, the dangerous kind, the kind that comes right before lightning strikes. You can't do this, Stella Ferris, Orion's voice sharpened, not angry, but edged with fear. If you continue like this, if you challenge the council aloud, you could be expelled from Luon Academy forever. His words hit the room like a spell strike. Even the protective runes along the office walls flickered at the weight behind them. But the threat didn't stop me. It ignited me. I don't care, I exploded, the words ripping out of me before I could stop them. What good is graduation? What good is a title, a diploma, a place in this academy if my sister, my own blood, is out there living as a glyph because the council decided it was fitting? My voice cracked, raw and shaking with the pain I hadn't had time to process since the truth hit me. Sister, I didn't even remember until today, Orion. My throat tightened. And the council, your council, stole that memory from me, from us. Zena gasped softly. Luna's eyes widened, hand covering her mouth. Orion closed his eyes, pained. Stella Ferris, please. No. My magic flared, an involuntary pulse. Responding to the storm inside me, the lights flickered, the room trembled. Orabeak hopped anxiously on my shoulder, feathers fluffing with its distress. Orion raised a hand to stabilize the warding spell around the office. Listen to me, there are laws, ancient laws. If a soul is corrupted beyond. Don't, I stepped back, cutting him off, holding up a shaking hand. Don't you dare use their laws as an excuse. Not after you kept this from me, not after you let me think she was just gone. Orion's composure slipped, just for a moment where guilt, regret, and something like shame crossed his expression. I wasn't allowed to tell you, he said quietly. Your memories were sealed by order of the principal and the council. I swore an oath. So your oath to them mattered more than the truth to me. The silence was instant, heavy, suffocating. Orion opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have an answer, at least not one that would break something between us even further. Or wouldn't break something between us even further. Sorry. I felt tears gather, burning, but I refused to let them fall. Not in front of him, not while I was still shaking with rage. I would rather be expelled than keep pretending everything is fine, I said, voice trembling but sure. I'd rather lose the academy than lose whatever chance I have left to save her. My next words came out small, but sharp enough to cut. Because what's the point of earning a future here if I'm the only one who gets one? Zena stepped to my side, placing a hand on my shoulder. Luna moved to my other side, silent but supportive. For the first time since the hovercraft crashed, I wasn't shaking alone. Orion stared at me, something breaking in his eyes. Stella Ferris, you have no idea what the forces you are about to provoke. Then let them be provoked, I whispered. I'm done living by their rules. I hadn't known it yet, but the older principal, the one who had let me slide a few times and who was, like me, a woman, had taken a job elsewhere. She had been lenient in ways no one else would give me chances I didn't always deserve. I had trusted her in a way I never thought I would trust another authority figure. Replacing her was someone far less forgiving, someone who didn't tolerate mistakes, insubordination, or anything that smacked of rebellion. The new principal and new head of the council was Star Mori, Miss Mori. As the students whispered her name, she was strict, cruel, and her reputation alone made students flinch. Every story about her carried warnings. Those who defied her disappeared from the academy's records, at least for a while. And in an instant, as if she had been waiting for my outburst, she appeared. The office wall shimmered for a heartbeat, and then she was there, standing tall, hair pulled back in a severe knot, uniform crisp and perfect, eyes sharp as knives. Authority radiated from her, heavy and unyielding. "I see you are opposing the council's decision," she said, her voice cutting through the office like ice. "Well, Quasar, we will suspend you for 3 days. 3 days. 3 long days." The words slammed into me. Isolation, away from the academy, away from everything I was doing to find Kazanora's a cure. My hands curled into fists, my chest burned. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. "Silence," she snapped. Her hand lifted, and the wards in the office pulsed subtly, as if reinforcing the truth of her words. "This is not a request. It is an order from the council. Your actions today challenging this decision of the council, endangering students, and damaging academy property cannot go unpunished." Zena and Luna exchanged glances, uneasy, but neither dared speak. Even Orion said nothing, his jaw set tight as stone. "You are lucky the council is lenient," Miss Mori continued. "Consider this a warning. Step out of line again, and your future at Luna Academy will be decided not by suspension, but by permanent expulsion." Her gaze swept the room, sharp and calculating, then without another word, she vanished as suddenly as she had arrived, leaving the office colder, heavier, and suffocatingly silent. I sank against the edge of the cold stone wall, hands trembling, suspended. 3 days? And all I could think about was Kazanora, out there at my sanctuary home, living as a glyph while the council, and now Star Mori, stood firmly in my way. I was bound, determined, to find a cure for my sister, and to bring her back to her original human form. But if the council had it their way, she would stay a glyph forever, bound to a form that she did not choose, and was not of her doing. Well, guys, that's another episode of the Monstercaster Journal podcast. I hope you come next time. And may the glyphs always protect you.